Run.
Well, hi everybody, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're watching this. But hopefully good morning. Hopefully you're watching it on the morning of Friday, the 19th of April, when it was published. And welcome to On the Run. And absolutely massive news from IAG yesterday. If you are a subscriber to Breakfast Briefing, you would have got our news release that the Power 50 this year will be held at Solaire North on Friday, the 8th of November this year, 2024. So that's super exciting. Solaire North, the newest integrated resort in all of Asia. A lot of buzz about them opening late next month, late May. And of course, by the time we have the Power 50 on the 8th of November, it'll be 6 months down the track. And hopefully they will have bedded down a little bit, and it'll be a great opportunity for everybody from across Asia to fly into Manila and to take the short drive up to Solaire North and enjoy the weekend up there. Make a weekend of it. Should be absolutely great. Anyway, we'll have a lot more to say about that between now and the 8th of November, so stay tuned. Huge week this week in news, just out of control. Where do I begin? Well, first of all, I have to tell you that I am in Australia. I'm in Melbourne. Huge news out of Sydney this week, but we'll get to that in a moment. Let's get to the top 10 and we'll go through it in order. So let's start with Thailand. So Thailand's finance ministry is to lead 17 agencies in Thailand in considering the House report on legalising casinos. So Cabinet's now approved that report that was almost unanimously passed by the House of Representatives, and so going through the Thai Parliament, approved by the Cabinet. Now the Cabinet has sent it to 17 relevant agencies, government agencies, including the Finance Ministry, who will take the lead, and they've got 30 days to submit their recommendations to Cabinet in relation to the report. An urgent letter was issued Monday by the Secretariat of the Cabinet to give effect to that. So, yeah, they're really racing along now all of a sudden. So let's see how Thailand goes. Hopefully they've learnt from Japan's mistakes and they're going to get through pretty quickly. The word on the street is we might be dealing cards by 2029. That's when they say, which would be a year earlier than Japan. All right, that was number 10. Now on to number 9. A Hong Kong court, the High Court of Hong Kong, in fact, has ordered Imperial Pacific International to be wound up, and they have appointed a receiver. Well, this is something that the CCC, the Commonwealth Casino Commission, the regulator in Saipan, hasn't had the cojones to do. There's no nonsense here from Hong Kong. There are two petitioners. Between them, they're owed more than $3 million US. They lodged the petition 7 months ago, and the High Court has, the process has gone on through the High Court, and they've said, yep, wind it up, it's done. So I don't think it's listed on the stock exchange anymore, the Hong Kong exchange. If it is, it's certainly suspended. Look, IPI has been stringing the CCC along for years. The latest story is that they've negotiated to pay them $24 million in 2024. Sounds like they made that number up, doesn't it? They're not going to do that. There have been so many delays, so many extensions, and I think it's because the kind of money we're talking here, single digit, double digit millions, that's enormous money for Saipan, and it's hard for them. IPI dangles a few, the potential of paying a few $1 million, and Saipan gets all excited, and then they delay and hope that they're going to see some money, but they're never going to see any money. IPI is going to keep on delaying and delaying. Well, Hong Kong's had enough of this. Time to wind the company up, and I think that's probably a good thing. We had another story this week. The receiver, Clear Management, whatever they're called, Danny Ewing's running that, I think, and Tim Shepherd's got some involvement. They sold two Rolls Royces that belonged to IPI, white and gold Rolls Royces, not to be confused with the red Rolls Royces that the 13 had, another horror story. They sold those two Rolls Royces for 333,000 US dollars. I nearly said million. We actually had it up for a few moments on the website as million. I bet they wish they had sold them for 333 million. It was 333,000, one for 163,000, one for 170,000, and they're in Saipan. So I'm not sure who's bought them, but somebody's bought them, and will be driving around like a king in a white and gold Rolls Royce around Saipan, or two of them, in fact. Number 8, Sky City in Auckland has named Jason Warbridge, the former Aristocrat executive. He was with Aristocrat for 18 years, up to 2015. The last 9 years he's had a range of other positions in the gaming industry, and even one I think is not directly in the gaming industry. He will take over from Michael Ahern, who was CEO for 3 years and COO for 3 years before that. And Sky City, of course, a New Zealand-based company, but they also operate the Adelaide Casino in Australia. He is a New Zealander, which I think is a good thing for a New Zealand company. So a new person to deal with now at Sky City, and of course Sky City's got a bit to go through in Adelaide with the AUSTRAC investigation, and potentially then after that an investigation from the regulator as to their suitability, much like what has happened in Victoria and New South Wales. What is next? I think we're up to number 7. Where do I begin? Explosive evidence in the Bell 2 inquiry, Star Entertainment. This is such a big story that we, in fact, Ben and I have made a separate video about this, also being published today for you, Friday the 19th of April. So go to asgam.com, asgam.com, and go to newsfeed and find that video, or go to videos and find that video, because this is such a big story. But just very briefly, the second Bell inquiry into the suitability of Star Entertainment to hold a license for a casino in New South Wales is going on. Started this week, and Monday morning, bang, explosive evidence from Nicholas Weeks, the manager appointed by the government to manage the casino at the moment, while Star is considered not a suitable company or not fit to do so. So this manager's been appointed to do that. He gave incredible testimony that he'd been spied on by Star, that there'd been a culture of us and them, that they had gone to war. I mean, the contrast between Star and Crown could not be any starker. Both Star and Crown were found to have acted badly in all sorts of ways, but Crown over the past 2 years has gone on a concerted campaign to remediate itself, and they have recently been found to be a fit and proper person to hold a casino license again by the Victorian regulator, the VGCCC, whereas the NICC in New South Wales is now holding their second inquiry by Senior Counsel Adam Bell, and it's not going well at all. Anyway, for more details, see the other video we published today. It's such a big story that we had to do a separate video for it. But also what I will mention is that we had another story this week that there was a trading update lodged for Star Entertainment, because of course it's a listed company, and they chose to lodge this trading update with the numbers from Q1 of 2024 calendar year. That's the Q3 of the 2024 financial year in Australia, and wasn't good. Net loss of $4.4 million US dollars for the company, so it's kind of like a break even, or a little worse than break even. The premium players are staying away from Star, not just Star Sydney, but Star Brisbane and Star Gold Coast. They're all down. The Star Brisbane was down 28%, Star Brisbane was down Did I say Brisbane? I said Brisbane, and it was Brisbane. Brisbane was down 28%. Star Gold Coast was down 20%. Star Sydney down 19%. And they're currently spending about US $60 million a month, they say, in risk controls and transformation expenses. That's a lot of money. So anyway, see the separate video for more on what's going on in Sydney with Star. It's a mess, and who knows where we go from here. Do they lose their license? Does a Blackstone come in and rescue them? Does another company come in and rescue them? Well, the other companies I'm speaking to, nobody wants it. So yeah, let's see what happens. Anyway, let's move on. So number 6, I think we're at. 109876. Yes, rapid return of the Chinese tourists helps the Philippines book an 18% year-on-year increase in visitor arrivals in Q1 of 2024. Yes, the Chinese are back at long last after all that COVID horribleness. It's great to see them back. The post-COVID recovery is going on in China. Of course, the economy is not so great there, but after China was sort of opened up again to the world in January 2023, the Chinese did not travel outbound internationally much at all. They had to recover from the terrible situation that they had found themselves in after 3 years of COVID zero. So initially, any travel would have been within China, would have been domestic travel. Chinese always choose domestic travel over international travel first, and then they do their international travel after they've done their domestic travel. But the international travel is starting to trickle back, and that 18% increase in visitor arrivals in the Philippines, largely due to Chinese. I think I've got some numbers here. Chinese visitors up 150% to 110,000 of the 1.66 million visitors in the first quarter of this year. The top 5 inbound markets for Philippines, number 1, of course, Korea. Number 2 is US. Number 3 is China. Number 4 is Japan. Number 5 is Australia. All right, story number 5. Decline in VIP GGR sees Okada Manila GGR fall to just 154 million US dollars for the first quarter of 2024. That's a reduction of 24%, quite a substantial reduction. And if it's only 154 million for the quarter, if that was to stay like that for the whole year at that rate, which I don't think it will, I think it'll pick up, you're looking at a run rate of only 616 million. It's barely above Newport level. So that is surprising. I think last year, from memory, they were about 800, 900 million, something like that. So that's interesting. The adjusted EBITDA was down 30%. So the gaming revenue was down 25%. The adjusted EBITDA was down 30% to just 41 million US dollars for the quarter, even though property visitation was steady. So property visitation was 1.46 million in both cases. Yeah. So check out the story for more details on that. May have been 1.46 million for 2023 and a run rate of 1.46 million for 2024, I think. Anyway, check that out. But I know that the property visitation was basically steady. So they're making less money with the same people. So what's going on there? I mean, there were some difficulties in Okada with the IT issues they were having, as they described it. Maybe that ran on and through into Q1. Who knows? And Q1 is always the quietest quarter, of course, but so it would have been last year as well. All right, let's move on. So where are we at? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Number 4. And it is indeed Newport World Resorts. Gaming revenues at Newport reached 600 million in 2023. So they're clearly the number 3 property. Number 1 being Soleil, number 2 being Okada. But if those numbers are correct, then Newport are snapping at the heels of Okada. So Travellers International, of course, Travellers International Group Incorporated are the operators of Newport World Resorts. Now that this is of course the former Resorts World Manila, but now that Genting are out of it because of Genting Hong Kong folding during COVID, it's purely a Tan family concern now. So Travellers is part of AGI, Alliance Global Group, and that is the Tan family, one of the richest families in the Philippines. Andrew Tan and his son Kevin Tan. Kevin Tan is running Newport World Resorts. So, Alliance Global is huge. They've got Emperador, the Spirits Company. They've got McDonald's in the Philippines. I think it's called Golden Arches Corp or something. They've got, what else do they have? Emperador. They have an infrastructure company. Oh, and of course they've got Mega World, very big construction company as well. So a lot there. And these numbers came out of these numbers that I'm giving you came out of the Alliance numbers. They issued a press release. The EBITDA was 144 million US for the quarter. So interesting. Yeah, let's see. They're bringing the changes. Kevin Tan's bringing the changes in there at Newport. So let's see if Newport can lift itself up and it can improve and it can reinvent itself and put the challenge to Okada and Solaire, who are clearly the top two in Manila at the moment. But Newport's got to be the one that, if there is going to be a challenge, it's going to be Newport. Probably not so much City of Dreams. They're a few $100 million revenue per year behind again. Number 3, DICJ data, the Macau regulator, the DICJ, shows VIP gaming revenues coming back to claim some market share. Now this, in my view, is very misleading. It was a story this week that the VIP numbers were up 13.4% to US 1.78 billion for the quarter, and this represented 25% of all the play in Macau for the quarter, for the first quarter of 2024. Of course, 25% is a lot less than the 46% that it was in 2019, or indeed the 85% it was when I first came to Macau 20 years ago, whatever it was, nearly 20 years ago, 18, 19 years ago. But you know what? I don't really buy this number at all. First of all, most of it's VIP direct. We all know the junket industry's collapsed. I think there's about 18 licensed junkets left in Macau from the peak of 200 and something. They're all quite small. I believe about half of them are dormant. Of the remaining half, which is say 9, I think only 3 or 4 are very active. I do believe we had a number. I remember Hubert Wang from MGM once came out and said that they represented, don't quote me on the number, but I think it was 3% or no more than 5% of the total GGR now. So this 25% of GGR number for VIP really refers to the tables that the DICJ counts as VIP. And some of them are not really VIP tables at all. Most of it is premium direct, and they're just tables that are denominated or delineated, I should say, as VIP, but the concessionaires don't want to change them back to mass, even though their fee would only be 150,000 MOP on a mass table as opposed to 300,000 on a VIP table. Why don't they want to change them back? Because they want the flexibility. Once you change something at the DICJ, it's very, very hard to change it back. And if they want the flexibility to make them VIP tables one day, they can, while still effectively running them as mass tables, even though in the minds of the DICJ, they're VIP tables. So look, these numbers I think are kind of meaningless. I think the real number, I've talked to a few people around town about this. Of course, it varies from concessionaire to concessionaire. But my gut feeling is that the real number, real VIP, and this is mainly premium direct, across the board might be 13, 14, 15%, something like that, in the mid-teens, something like that. Yes, so, I mean, my question, I guess, is does this classification of VIP versus mass, does it really have any meaning anymore? Maybe not. All right, number 2, Morgan Stanley came out this week. That's Praveen Chowdhury, of course, and downgraded Galaxy on what was described as the surprise loss of market share. Now, of course, MGM China has been the real story of 2023 and 2024 so far, taking significant market share, which means the others need to lose market share. And one of the victims of this has been Galaxy. Now, Galaxy has always traditionally been seen as one of the most efficient operators around town, certainly one of the biggest, and Francis Loy has to be commended on what he's done over the past 20 years. It's simply amazing, and we here in IAG have documented it thoroughly. Having said that, word on the street is that he's quite annoyed that that Galaxy doesn't have the market share that it used to have, and that it's slipping significantly under 20%. Now, Morgan Stanley have now came out and said, well, look, there was no market share gain from phase 3. They launched phase 3, or at least the beginning of phase 3A, let's say, last year. That hasn't seemingly moved the needle. And Morgan Stanley have said they anticipate further market share loss, or market share losses. I won't say further market share losses. I'll say market share losses in Q1 of 2024. Well, we'll know soon because it's earnings season, and Sands has come out with its earnings for Q1. They're always first. So far, it's only Sands, but we'll get Galaxy soon enough. They continue to trade at a premium. Galaxy shares, according to Morgan Stanley, of about 12% on Sands and about 20% over the others. And they've actually cut the target price to 38 Hong Kong dollars. They think the premium is really because a lot of people like cash, and Galaxy's got a lot of cash, and they expect further growth, but Morgan Stanley are not so sure. So look, that's a really interesting story. That's the first time we've heard of a chink in the Galaxy armour over the years, to be honest, or a serious one. And Citi also came out, another story we did this week, a related story. Citi came out and said that the early adoption of smart tables by MGM China has given it a technological advantage that should prevail through 2024 and maybe even into 2025 for MGM China over the other concessionaires like Galaxy. Now, word on the street is that Galaxy have gone to WDTS and said, we want the smart tables, same as MGM China has. Well, that's going to be expensive, Galaxy. The WTTS product is not cheap, but it is good. And let's see how that all plays out. Of course, there's a competitor product from Angel that uses AI and cameras rather than chip-in-chip RFID technology. So that's going to be a really interesting supplier battle between WDTS and Angel there on who wins out in the long run. Obviously, they both think they're better than the other, as is standard. Number 1 is the very first results for Q1 2024 earnings season. It's Sands, as it always is. Sands always comes out first. They're reporting a 1.81 billion in net revenues for Sands China Limited in the quarter, but profit was hit a little bit by a lower hold. Net revenue, that is 1.81, not GGR, net revenue. That's up 42% on last year. Unsurprisingly, last year was a recovery year. This year's a full year, but it is down 3% sequentially from the December quarter of last year. Their adjusted EBITDA was $610 million US dollars. This is for Sands China on that 1.81. So that's 33%, 600 on 1.8 billion, 600 million on 1.8 billion. What a great profit margin, hey? 33%, wow, that's solid. Of course, not as good as Marina Bay Sands, which is usually up around 50%, but that's insane. So 610 million for the quarter, so their run rate is, 2.4 billion EBITDA. I think it's adjusted EBITDA. Yes, adjusted EBITDA per year, which is pretty substantial. What else can I say about that? The net income was, so after taking off all the EBITDA add backs, the net income, I should say, the bottom line was US 297 million. So even net income is over $1 billion a year versus US 10 million loss last year. So basically break even. And also the numbers for MBS came out as well. Hold on to your hats. On a revenue of just 1.16 billion net revenue, so say 1.2, their adjusted EBITDA was 597 million, so 50%. So that's adjusted EBITDA, not EBITDA or net income, but still it's pretty amazing. Marina Bay Sands made nearly as much adjusted EBITDA. It was 597 as Sands China. And that you're talking one property versus, what is it, 6? Sands Macau, Parisian, Venetian, Londoner, Plaza, 5. So it's pretty amazing. Marina Bay Sands is so profitable. Or we did another story as well. The Sheraton renovations are underway. This is a story that popped out of the report. Sheraton renovations underway. Second Londoner casino upgrade from May. Londoner Phase 2 renovations. So this is $1 billion spend on top of the 2.2 billion that was already spent on Londoner, turning it from Sands Cotai Central to Londoner. So another $1 billion they're going to spend on Phase 2. That includes the Sheraton renovations. They say the first tower is going to be ready by the end of the year, and the second tower by May 2025 is what they say. All right, well, that's a lot of information. A huge week in gaming news it was. Every week I seem to say that, but this week really was. And my run continues. I'm still in Melbourne. I don't know where I'm going next. I may be able to get to Southeast Asia, may be able to get to Sydney, may be able to get to some other cities in Australia, maybe even Adelaide or Perth or Tasmania even. Not quite sure. I've got about 5 weeks to do all those side trips. And then it's back to Manila, of course, and then back to Hong Kong, and finally back to Macau for home base. All right, that's it for this week. See you at the Power 50, 8th of November 2024, Friday the 8th of November 2024 at Solaire North. How exciting is that? And that property, I have heard, is magnificent. So if you're from a Macau concessionaire, put it in your diary, 8th of November, make a weekend out of it and get over to Manila and go and check out Solaire North. It's only a 30-minute drive from the airport if you land at the right time. We'll help you with that. If you're very senior, I'm sure we can organise a limo for you. Just put it in your diary and be there. It's going to be a great night, and they've got a magnificent ballroom there, and it's a beautiful integrated resort. So I hope to see you there on the 8th of November, but there'll be plenty of promotion of that by us between now and then. It's still more than 6 months away. Have a great weekend. See you next week. Keep reading IAG. Keep going to asgam.com for your gaming news, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Run.